be agreed to. Ian Lees-Galloway.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. Back before the 2008 election, when John Key and other national candidates and MPs went around the country campaigning to form the next government, they told New Zealanders that they were going to bring down taxes. That's what they said. They were going to bring down taxes, they were going to lower costs for New Zealanders, and that the Labour government was taking far too much tax off them. Of course, what they really meant is that they were going to reduce personal tax rates for their mates and put up costs for everybody else. And of course, what they didn't tell New Zealanders was a whole range of ways that they were going to increase taxes and increase costs for New Zealanders. They didn't tell them that early childhood education fees were going to increase by nearly 20% under the National-led government. They didn't tell New Zealand families that donations, the so-called voluntary donations to primary schools and secondary schools, were going to increase by 31% under the National-led government. They didn't tell students and graduates that they were going to put a $50 to $60 levy on all student loans. No, they didn't tell them about that tax increase. They certainly didn't tell New Zealanders that the ACC work account was going to be increased by 67%, or that the earners account was going to be increased by 23%, or that the motor vehicle account was going to be increased by 31%. They didn't tell New Zealanders that they were going to take away their KiwiSaver tax credit, which is effectively a tax increase. They certainly didn't tell New Zealanders that they were going to allow GP fees to increase. Oh no, actually, hang on. They did kind of signal that one. They did signal that one because remember John Key's idea about the primary health sector? It's a market. Frankly, it's a market, he said. So they did kind of signal that they were going to allow costs for people to go and see their doctor to increase. They didn't tell New Zealanders that they were going to increase prescription fees from $3 to $5 per prescription, and they did not tell New Zealanders that there was going to be an overall increase in fuel excise tax, David Bennett, of 18.8% over the period of time that this government has been in power. Now, what are all those tax increases and cost increases all about? They are about getting this government just squeaking over the line to surplus in 2014-15. That's what this tax increase is really about, sir. It's about the fact that the government made a promise that it would get New Zealand back into surplus, and because of its failure to get the economy working again, it has had to go and find every single little penny down the back of the couch to try and get New Zealand back into surplus. That is what this tax increase, that this bill, the Customs and Excise Budget Measures Motor Spirits Amendment
Point of order.
Brendan
Horan, as a point of order. Brendan.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Sir, I noticed the Honourable David Bennett masticating what appears to be gum, sir, with his mouth wide open.
Look, that's irrelevant. The member will sit down. That's just interrupting the flow of the debate, and it's unacceptable. We won't have any of that. Ian Lees-Galloway.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. Look, this is what John Key said. He said National is not going to be raising GST. Not going to be raising GST. National wants to cut taxes, not raise taxes. John Key said that back in 2008. Well, it's been proven, Mr Speaker, to be patently untrue. But what is this all about? Well, Mr Speaker, the Minister would have us believe that what this is about is making sure there is enough money to build his roads of national significance. And we do know that the National Party is absolutely obsessed, not with roads, because local roads suffer under the National Party. They are absolutely obsessed with their gigantic holiday highways. That's what this government is all obsessed about, and that actually, if there was some truth to what the Minister said about what this bill is for, that is what it's for. Now, why is it that the National Party is so obsessed with these massive, giant, gold-plated holiday highways? Well, sir, there is actually a good book about what this is all about, and it's called The Hollow Men. All we have to do is refer to some of those well-known emails, Don Brash's email loop, and some of the ideas behind what this focus on highways is all about. An email was sent to Dr. Brash and Maurice Williamson from a long-time supporter of ACT and now National, who thought that a National Party policy to dedicate all revenue from taxes at the petrol pump to roading would be a great platform for getting support of the country. I actually think the surpluses should be returned to those who pay him, but the policy outlined above will get the support of the masses, and that is the first priority. So not about building an integrated, growth-focused transport network across the country. No, sir, that's not what it's about. It's all about politics. It is all about politics, and that is why the National Party is obsessed with these highways. Again, another email, Brian Sinclair forwarded the letter to Brash and others saying, I hate to revisit this issue, and I know the fiscal and political issues surrounding this sort of commitment, but I really do agree with the substance. In terms of vote winning, or another way of putting it, vote buying, he proposed this policy will have, within 5 years, National becoming government, apply all petrol tax revenue raised solely to roading and transport infrastructure across New Zealand. So this is all about politics, sir. And that's actually, I get it. That's why the National Party likes these highways so much. Because an integrated transport network that is focused on growth isn't exactly the best way to buy votes. What people like to see are nice, tangible pieces of infrastructure that they can see, that they can use, and that's what makes people feel good. And that's what makes people like David Bennett feel good, and what makes Mike Sabin feel good. Because they can point to it and they can say, we did that. That's what this is all about. Compare that, sir, with coastal shipping. Now, the benefits of investing in coastal shipping are, one, you get better allocation of capital because you can make better use of the capital investment in roads and rail by taking some of the congestion off roads and rail and putting them on coastal shipping. Coastal shipping is far more environmentally positive because the emissions from coastal shipping per tonne per kilometre are far lower than they are on road or rail. That's actually a more effective use of taxpayers' money. But you can't see it. You can't feel it. Voters don't see the ships going up and down the coastline in the same way that they see highways being built. So the National Party doesn't like it. It might make economic sense, it might be growth focused, it might be environmentally focused, it might be the best use of the resources we have in our transport budget, and it might be a more sensible allocation of capital, but the National Party doesn't like it because the politics doesn't stack up, even if the economic argument stacks up. And this National Party is very, very good at saying no. They've said no to Auckland. They've said no to Auckland, who have come up with a positive, integrated plan for their transport network. And instead of working with the Auckland Council, the government has decided to go to war with the Auckland Council. And before they've even had a conversation about what is the right mix of infrastructure to build and the right mix of revenue to raise the money needed to build that infrastructure, they've just said no, 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 ruled it all out without even having a conversation with Len Brown or his team. They're very good at saying no to rail. They just don't believe in it. They don't want to see rail being used as an important part of an integrated transport structure. The truth is, Jerry Brownlee, that 90% of the transport budget is spent on roads and 7% is spent on rail. This government does not believe in rail. It is not supporting rail. It never will support rail because the backers of rail are not the financial backers of the National Party in the same way that road transport users are, sir. And they are very good at saying no to anything in the transport network that reduces emissions and improves New Zealand's impact on the environment. That's what this government is about. It's about saying no to an integrated transport network. It is about saying no to proper capital allocation, and it is about saying no to a growth agenda. It is about saying yes to political expediency and the transport infrastructure that is most likely to buy votes. And that's why New Zealanders' taxes are going up under National, and that is why the costs to New Zealand families are going up under National. That's not what they promised, sir, but that, of course, broken promises, is exactly what we have come to expect from this National government.
I call David Bennett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That was the worst speech I've ever seen